Let's be real for a second. Most corporate training can be a total drag. But what if we could completely flip that script? Today, we're going to talk about how to transform those mandatory sessions from something people dread into an experience they actually look forward to. Does this whole scene feel a little too familiar? You know, you're stuck in some required training, you're watching that clock, you're just counting down the minutes. If you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. And this really gets to the heart of the problem, what we're calling the training chore. It's that situation we've all been in, right? Employees are physically there or, logged into the Zoom call, but mentally, they've checked out. They're present in body, but not in spirit. And the result of all that checking out? Well, people just mindlessly click next, next, next on the slides to get it over with. But when it's all said and done, did they learn anything? Nope. The information goes in one ear and right out the other. Okay, so why does this keep happening? To actually fix this thing, we've got to diagnose the root causes. What is it about traditional training that just makes it fall so flat? It really boils down to these three big challenges. First, you've got simple disengagement. Your team is doing the absolute bare minimum to get by. And that's usually because of low motivation. They just see training as another checkbox they have to tick off for HR. And of course, it's all delivered in the most boring way possible. I mean, who hasn't been put to sleep by an endless PowerPoint presentation? And the bottom line here? It's pretty stark. All that time, all that money, all that effort just adds up to wasted resources and, here's the real kicker, almost zero actual growth for employees. It's a massive, expensive problem. But what if the answer wasn't another manual or a new slideshow? What if the solution is something that's already hardwired into our brains? This is where we need to talk about the power of play, not as a silly distraction, but as a serious psychological solution to disengagement. And the name for this idea is gamification. It sounds fancy, but the concept is actually super simple. It's just taking elements from games, things like earning points, tackling challenges, working together on a team, and applying them to something that isn't a game, like your corporate training. And the reason this isn't just a gimmick, the reason it actually works, is because we are fundamentally wired for play. I mean, think about it. It's how we first learn about the world as kids, by trying things out, a little friendly competition, and celebrating those small victories along the way. Gamification just plugs right into that core human instinct. All right, so we've got the what and the why. So what happens when you actually do this? What are the real-world benefits of gamifying your training? Let's dive into that. You can see how these benefits just naturally flow into one another. It all starts with engagement, which absolutely skyrockets because it feels fun, not like a chore. And because it's enjoyable, the learning actually becomes memorable. When things are memorable, your retention of that information goes way up. And finally, because you're doing things instead of just listening, the skills you learn are practical, and you can use them right away. Now, this isn't just wishful thinking. There's some really cool science that explains why this is so effective. So let's peek under the hood for a second and see what's happening in the brain. It all comes down to what's called the dopamine effect. It's a really simple but powerful chain reaction. First, the experience is fun and it gives you a good challenge. In response, your brain releases dopamine. That's the chemical that makes you feel pleasure and reward. And that little hit of dopamine reinforces the brain pathways connected to what you just did, which makes the memory and the learning so much stronger. And this really requires a major shift in how we think about work. Fun isn't just the opposite of learning. It's not just a break from the serious stuff. When it comes to education, fun is one of the most powerful tools we have for making knowledge stick. So what does this actually look like day to day? We are talking about a total reimagining of what learning is. It's about moving away from being a passive listener in a lecture and becoming an active participant in an adventure. I mean, the contrast here is just night and day, right? On one hand, traditional training is all about passive listening, just trying to complete a checkbox and then forgetting it all a week later. But the gamified approach turns that on its head. It's all about active problem solving, real teamwork, and skills that you actually retain because you learned them through direct experience. So you might be wondering how this actually works in the real world. Well, one great example that puts these principles into action is a tool called Battle of Kings. It's designed to do exactly this: turn strategic HR development into an engaging, game-based experience. And that's really the whole transformation, isn't it? It's about taking training from being this tedious chore you have to suffer through and turning it into a memorable adventure that people are genuinely excited to be a part of.
So I'll just leave you with this one thought to chew on. If play is our very first teacher, literally the way every single one of us learned about the world, then why on earth is it so often the very last tool we think to use at work?